Hey there, YouTube. It has been a while. Set some goals for myself in the beginning of 2024, and I've mostly been quietly just working towards them in the background. And I'm going to be going over those with you today. Everything from business to fitness to books and TV shows, relationships, everything kind of hobby and work related in my life. Why? So why am I doing this? I'm doing this for a couple reasons. One is it's kind of helpful to self-reflect and brag to yourself about the things you've done, but also to acknowledge the things maybe you haven't done to help, both celebrate the stuff you did, but also take a look at the things that need a little bit of support and that maybe you want to focus on. Two, it's because I know people on this channel have followed me for all sorts of random shit, which is cool. Thank you for doing that. That's super nice of you. And so it may motivate you to do more stuff in your next year of your life, because you can kind of do a lot of stuff in not that much time if you stay a little bit focused. And then three, it's going to help me personally set some goals for 2025, which is this is a mostly self-indulgent, selfish video, but I hope it's at least entertaining and maybe encouraging for you. Just you, nobody else watching, only you. Don't worry about them. So first, business. Okay, business is kind of like what I've used a lot of this channel for, so I figured it was probably most important to talk about that. So in the beginning of this year, in 2024, I had set some revenue goals for the business that I had. And so I basically had two goals. Like I had my baby goal, which was to 3x the revenue of the business I was in. And my hope was to do it within 3 months. And then I had my kind of stretch/real goal, which was to 5x from where we were at the beginning of the year within 6 months. How did I do on those goals? Well, the good thing is I did hit those goals, but they took a little bit longer than I wanted. The first baby goal, we'll call, I hit it in 6 months. So it took twice as long than I expected, but we did hit that goal, which was really cool. And then the 5x goal took us about 11 months. So almost the whole year. I was hoping to hit it in 6 months. It took me almost the entire year, but I did hit them both. And I did literally write it on like a vision board like people do and stuff. Not that you necessarily have to do that, but I did write it. But that was like my main North Star for this past year. And I did that. I have historically used this channel for a lot of business stuff. You're probably wondering, well, okay, that's cool. Cool flex, AJ. Yay for you, but how? How did you do it? Because maybe you watching this, you want to do it in your own business, which is cool. The main thing I did, and you can take this, I have done a lot of business type stuff in my adult life. And it's worked for me, and it's worked for like clients of mine and people who hired me and my companies to help them. So take that for whatever information you want, or take that as it is. But this is just what's worked for me and people who invest in our companies, okay? And the main thing I did was that I solved the problems that actually exist. It's wild because my main business is in B2B services space, like advisory and marketing stuff. And the amount of people who are solving problems that just don't exist, or that are building like huge complicated things when like they barely have like the bones of something ready. It's kind of like if you're out in the wilderness and you just need a tent to survive the night, you're trying to build yourself a mansion in the middle of the woods. And like, sure, mansion is better, but you might die before you finish building it. So I think staying like focused on the problem that is. Like if you are starting a new business and you don't have enough customers, well, fix that problem. Like I know that's oversimplified, but really that's the problem that needs to be fixed. Or if clients are leaving left and right, you need to do better at servicing them so that they don't leave. You need to find out why they're leaving. Like just solve the actual problems that exist instead of trying to plan for all these grand schemes. You can do that, but for the most part, that's what's worked for me in the past 15 years of my adult life, and it might be helpful for you. So that was the first one, is I just solved problems that existed instead of like trying to make up a bunch of stuff. Second, and this was the hardest one, is that I stayed super focused. Being focused is hard, at least for me, and maybe it is for you. I think, and if you're somebody who like has a business, especially small businesses, I found is like, because everything feels kind of fleeting and like on a whim, it's really easy to like completely change what you're doing from day to day. I see this a lot in, especially like virtual style remote businesses online. People kind of change and overhaul everything overnight very quickly for sometimes no reason at all. And so for me, I've stayed hyper focused on solving the problem that exists and what my outcomes were, right? I knew in my goal I wanted to 3x and I wanted to 5x. And so that was the next thing I did, is I just stayed focused. And anytime I got distracted, or I was like, for me, I get really excited about starting new stuff, right? I always want to start a new business or new offer or things like that. I just wrote it down and I told myself, look, AJ, you have to solve the problems and hit your goals first, and then you can do that stuff later. So it's not to say, to squish your dreams. It's like saying, look, finish one thing before you move to the next. So that worked for me, and I think it would probably serve a lot of business owners who are out there trying to do things all the time, and like once they start getting a little bit of momentum, they seem to like let go, because it's hard, right? It's boring. So I would tell people to not worry about that. The third thing I did, cried, doubted myself, and I wanted to give up. That's like normal. It's normal to like doubt yourself and be upset and like feel just exhausted and beaten down. And I wouldn't say it's a necessary part of the process, but it certainly was for me. And I mostly say that because like I've done this for 16, 17 years. I have like built $1 million businesses, and I still do this, right? I think sometimes we think like one day you'll be so cool or you'll be so smart that you never have like self-doubt or you never get exhausted or tired. And that just hasn't been what I've noticed in my life. So I hope that's helpful and encouraging for you. Fourth thing I did to hit that goal was I surrounded myself with really great team members. So like we work with really, like there's people who I work with. Maybe you're watching this. If you are, sorry. But like my team members who I work with, I'm very fortunate to have them. And if it wasn't for those people, we wouldn't have grown at all this year. I would have probably been, in a hamster wheel. Like you have to kind of take a step back to take 2 steps forward. And I did that a bunch of times. And I was fortunate enough to do it with really great team members, people who work with me, and also clients, like really great clients. So that was the fourth thing I did, is like try to only surround yourself with the people who are gonna like you guys lift each other up together. You have aligned goals. And then the fifth thing I did was I watched stuff that was super encouraging for me. I remember, especially in the beginning of the year, I was like listening to anime motivation mixes, which is embarrassing and cringe, and you shouldn't have to do that. But it was motivating for me. It was very helpful to like envision myself as a main character who's gonna win and beat the enemy or whatever it was. So those are things that I did that were super helpful. So feel free to take all of those, none of those, or half of those. Now, what did I not do to accomplish those goals? What I didn't do was wake up at 4 a.m. every day. That's stupid. You do not need to do that to accomplish your outcomes. Like you don't have to do this like alpha bro thing. You can do it if you want, if it's helpful for you, but it's not necessary. Didn't cut out alcohol and drugs. Still eat junk food. Didn't work late into the night. Actually put a pretty hard like stop. Didn't work weekends. I didn't make business my personality. I think I have at least some other things about me that are medium interesting, and I don't need to be like an entrepreneur to be like a person. I think that's, again, cringe, but that's me. I didn't really read any personal development or business books. Now there's a caveat. I guess I read like an investment book near here at the end of the year, but it wasn't related to business. It was personal finance. Okay. I didn't have a mentor or a coach or a guide. I wasn't a dictator or an asshole, I think, to the people I work with who work with me. I wasn't like, you guys got to get in line, like, get it together. If I'll cab you out of here if you're not hustling and working 60 hours, because I'm like, I didn't do that. And I don't think you have to, is the point. I didn't have no boundaries. Don't think I meditated once. Didn't really do manifesting in crystals. No affirmations. I guess if you count me watching anime and pretending I'm a main character in a cartoon, sure. I guess that's sort of an affirmation. But no, I didn't like stand in the mirror and go like, you can do this. Though I maybe did talk to myself a little bit. So yeah. And I didn't do any of the alpha stuff. I think I said that already. Like no cold showers or weird diets or anything like that. So yeah, I'll do a longer breakdown on this because if you're interested and go into the actual tactics and strategies, if you care about that stuff, I'm happy to share that with you if you think that's going to be valuable. But that's kind of the cliff notes. Okay. Second thing I was focused on in 2024 is my fitness and nutrition and my mental health. I got fat. Here's the pictures to prove it. It's hard to tell. Even some of my close friends didn't realize that I had lost weight because they were like, oh, like you kind of like, I'm one of those body types that kind of carries all the weight, like mostly on the stomach. So like my arms will stay skinny and my face usually is skinny. I mean, again, that picture you can see. But yeah, I got fat objectively. Like I was up to 210 at my heaviest days. And the reason why I think I got fat was depression. Sometimes I get depression every once in a while. I wasn't really that motivated. But I think the most damaging thing was I had this all or nothing mindset that I think a lot of times people adopt when it comes to wellness and fitness, where and for me it came from like this like low carb culture where it's just like, oh, just cut all my carbs, lose all this water weight, and it's all fixed. And that wasn't that helpful. I just found myself very roller coastered and like binge eating and stuff like that. So my goal was to get to 185. I'm currently 179. There's the video of me doing it. I was 179 this morning. And that took pretty much all year. Committed to like a longer, more permanent path. I wasn't really trying to do a short-term weight loss, like I said, where I'm like just cutting out a food group or whatever. So I think that was one of the things that was pretty helpful for me in losing like, what is it, like 30-ish pounds, which is kind of cool, is that I wasn't like thinking, oh, I need to lose 30 pounds for a wedding or something. My thought was, I would like to walk around and be 30 pounds lighter, right? Like 20 pounds at least. So yeah, I also like ran a 15K, which is like 9 miles, which is nothing crazy, but is not nothing either. So some of the stuff I did, just in a quick little like bullet point notes, are started running more. I originally did that just for my mental health. I was a little bit more honest with my calories. I think sometimes with calories, we stop monitoring things like snacks and like sauces and oils and things. But I wasn't like hard calorie counting. I was just paying attention to it, like estimating it in my brain. Okay. The third thing was I was eating like 3 solid balanced meals every day, because if you're eating like a solid breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's just going to be harder to put a bunch of garbage in the rest of the time. And then the fourth thing that I found pretty helpful was I was actually weighing myself every single day. I think that practice was probably the most helpful because it's just like objective. If you're on the scale every day and you're reminded, oh, I'm a little bit up, I'm a little bit down, and you're seeing week to week the progress, it's more encouraging. And again, it's just also more objective. If in 2 weeks you weigh the same or you weigh a little more, you can probably safely assume you're eating too much, right? And it's just like this like these small little things that we need to pay attention to. So some other little quick things that I did that I think are helpful. I cared more about the week-to-week progress versus the day-to-day. Even though I weighed myself daily, I wasn't like going to lose my shit if one day I weighed a pound more or a pound less, right? Because that could literally just be water. Second thing was I started having more protein, like protein shakes and like high protein foods, which actually brings me to, I guess, to the next thing is I really stopped eating like meat, like for the most part. Don't eat meat. I'm not sure if that's helping or not, but if I'm going to include all the stuff that's worked for me, I should probably say it to you. I also watched like media that was encouraging, like yes, like I was watching my anime shows or whatever. But the other things where I was watching, there's a reality show called Race to Survive, where it's basically like Amazing Race meets the like Alone, where these people are like doing a race but out in nature, and they're running like dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of miles, and camping overnight and barely eating. And I found that pretty encouraging because I'm like, well, I live in a suburb of Chicago and got 10 hours of sleep or 8 hours of sleep last night and had 3 solid meals, and I'm trying to go for a 20-minute run. These people are going all day. I think I could do 20 minutes, right? So I did that, and I started watching some like hybrid athlete type influencers on YouTube. So that was kind of helpful. And then I was lifting like maybe 3 days a week, and I was running like 2 to 5 days a week. I tried to just work out 4 days a week no matter what. Whether it's 4 days running, 4 days lifting, just try to be in the gym more days than not. I'm going to make a longer video about fitness and nutrition stuff, I think, just because I think it'll be helpful. And I know the second thing people have followed me for in the past, besides business stuff, was fitness stuff. So I think that might be helpful. And if you're super excited about it, tell me, and I will make it a point to edit it sooner, okay? But those are kind of the cliff notes. Okay, books this year. So I'm looking for them, but they're scattered all over the place. I didn't do that good on books this year, actually. But I also didn't have a huge goal with it. I was mostly focused on like business, and second, probably fitness. Those are the two I mentioned. Those are the two I made the most progress in, right? The rest of these came kind of later in the year or are more happenstance. So I wasn't necessarily measuring how much time I was going to read. Actually, one of the things that encouraged me was the guy from Catfish, Max Joseph. I don't know if you remember that guy or that show. He was one of the hosts. He, the second host, kind of. He has a YouTube channel where he had one all about reading. And I was like, oh, yeah, reading. I need to get back into reading. So I read so far 3. It'll probably have been 4 books by the end of this year. I read The Algebra of Wealth, which is that personal finance book by Scott Galloway. That was pretty cool. I read We Used to Live Here, which is like a scary Halloween book. I read The Center, which is also kind of a sci-fi spooky book. And I am reading Mistborn, which is that Brandon Sanderson book that people are super gassed up about. I'm literally on the last like 50 pages of Mistborn. So my goal is going to be to finish it today, which is December 31st when I'm recording this. So it'll count. It counts. I'm also currently reading The 3-Body Problem, and I'll maybe do a separate video on books too. Yes, I know. I'm promoting a bunch of videos that don't exist yet. But again, I've only read 4 books, so I think for next year, I'm going to try to read, at least like 10-ish books. Part of why I'm making this video, so that I can be like, oh shit, I didn't read as many books as I want. That should be a goal for 2025. So that's kind of where I'm going to focus for the next year. Okay, next, like TV shows and movies. So TV shows and movies are kind of like the main thing I'll do at night after work to try to like turn the brain off. So there's kind of a lot of shows here. And I think I will maybe like just note a few of the ones that I thought were really cool. I'm not going to cover all of them, but there were kind of a lot. I would say my favorite ones for like TV shows for this 2024 were Agatha All Along, which was that Marvel show. I watched that with my wife, and we would get so excited to watch it every single week. It was very exciting and fun. It was great. I think that one was very impactful. I rewatched the show Yu-Gi-Oh! From when I was a kid and kind of loved it, even though it's like objectively not a good show. It was like very fun to be a part of. My Hero Academia, which I know is like a cringe anime to like for some people, but it's also super popular. I think it's super cool. It was one of the only shows besides maybe the Agatha show or like From, which is a show I watched as well, or Love Island, which is a trash reality show I watch with my wife. That was the only show that like I'd wake up very excited on Saturday because that's when it released on Crunchyroll or whatever to watch it. I felt like a little kid again, honestly. So that's like wrapping up, and I really love it. But yeah, the other shows are like I said, Love Island, From, which is like a scary show on MGM Plus, and there's some more that I will mention, but I think those are probably the most impactful, really, really fun shows I watched this year. I also watched Dandadan, and I just finished that, and that's really cool too. I love that. It almost makes me want to get into reading the comics/manga. I don't think I will. I'm not really a comics person. I like TV shows of them, but comics not as much. If I'm going to read a book, I'm just going to read a book, I think. Okay, for movies. What movies did we watch? I watched a lot of movies this year too. Again, maybe I'll have a separate one on movies. I know people do entire YouTube channels and videos about just movies, and they could talk about one movie for 20 minutes. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to mention the ones that I thought were the highlights for me, either because they were good or because they were fun. Now, some of the fun ones are objectively not good. I just enjoyed watching them. So Wicked. Wicked's good. Wild Robot. Maybe the best movie I've seen this year, and I think maybe one of the best animated movies, maybe in my top 10 all time. Okay, I saw The TV Glow, which is a spoopy movie. I love that one. I know it doesn't hit for everybody. I thought it hit really well. It was a little on the nose with some of the stuff, but I just found the nostalgia and the like growing up in the suburbs very like relatable for me. Subservience, bad, not a good show, not a good movie, but super fun to watch. And I hope they make a second one. I don't know why they would, but they should do it. Hot Frosty, same. Objectively horrible, but very fun to watch. It's What's Inside. I think a little bit of an underrated good movie. Kind of a spoopy Netflix psychological movie. And then Godzilla -1. I don't know if that's from this year or not, but I watched it this year and I loved it. I thought it was great. So those are kind of the movies that I think were the most impactful that I really loved watching this past year. For video games, really quick, video games I played this past year, Pokemon Violet, Hades, I play Mario Wonder, the Sonic Shadow, and then the Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. Those are all super fun. I'm also currently playing Super Monkey Ball, Stray, which is the game where you're a cat, which is super cool. And It Takes Two with my wife, which has been amazing. Like an amazing experience because I'm watching her become a gamer, like start from like having a hard time jumping to like really fully getting it, and like it's kind of awesome. Okay, relationships. Let's talk about relationships. As I always want to make sure that everything in my marriage is pretty S tier. All the other goals can literally be on fire, including, fitness and media and even business. But if my relationship with my wife is good, I'm a pretty happy person. So romantically, my wife and I just celebrated our 9th wedding anniversary. Everything's magical and great. Couldn't ask for a better partner. Don't feel the need to talk about it. I'm very proud of her. She's done so much amazing stuff in 2024. I wish she would brag about it, but she's a very, very impressive person. And I love her very much. So that's it. That's going great. For family is fine, I would say. I get along decently to like really well with most of my family. We aren't like best friends or anything. I wouldn't say we don't like have the most meaningful conversations, but I don't know if anybody in my family is like necessarily looking for that. Like they kind of just want to like, have you seen the ball game type energy? And I think that's fine. I think that's good. And it feels like, if and when they needed support, I think they feel they could come to me and vice versa. So yeah, I think that's all good. Friends is, I think, a major fail. Which is kind of a weird thing to say, right? So I moved back to Chicago from LA for what I thought would be a summer. And it's been like 4 years now. And so I was beginning to make some like real friends in LA and like have a little bit of a community. And then like the pandemic happened and we moved and we came here for what I thought was going to be a summer. And then like just life kind of like got in the way and we are still here. And candidly, we're still here because my wife is finishing a board certification for like effectively another master's degree. And so that's kind of why we're still here. But it's a little weird being here because I grew up here, but I don't really feel like I necessarily have a community. And I'm kind of hesitant to build a community because I'm like feel pretty confident I'm going to move back to LA. It just has been like delayed a little bit longer. It's probably a good idea to start building a community anywhere, even if it's just interest based. I know that that's not good to be by ourselves all the time, and I think I could do a better job of fostering community. Okay, hobbies. So hobbies were a mixed bag as well. So drawing and art. So I love drawing. I love art. I have some drawings. Maybe I'll put them here from last year. I got really into it. Literally haven't drawn all year. It's a bummer, with the exception of a little bit of sketching. I need to get back into it. I wasn't setting a goal. Now I do have some goals, which will be a separate goals video. But my drawing fail, but we can do better. We can do better next year. Mixology and bartending. So around this time last year, I started bartending like once or twice a week. It was interesting because I originally did it as a way to get out and meet people. I ironically built some community. And it ended up being super helpful, especially for a while when we were trying to grow the business. So it actually helped with that. But yeah, it was very fun. I do it like maybe once a week, sometimes twice. I like the people I get to work with. I even had a drink named after me that I had just made on a whim for one of the owners of the bar restaurant I work at. I also started teaching mixology to adults, which is really fun and cool. So this might be a new business, by the way, that I mess around with in 2025, maybe in the summer. More to come on that. But that was, I think, a big W in the bartending mixology department. I really started focusing a lot of time, and it's super fun. Cooking and baking. So cooking. I do both of these things pretty regularly, and they're pretty fun. I stopped like kind of trying to come up with a lot of my own stuff and instead kind of just follow recipes I really like. I actually subscribe to, there's another YouTube channel called Pickup Limes, who is a gal named Sadia. I think she lives in the Netherlands, and I think she's from Canada. I don't know. But she has a bunch of really good plant-based recipes, and so I subscribe to basically her Patreon to get access to her really, really good app. And literally everything on that app is a banger. Like, I haven't made anything bad. Like, I feel like sometimes with a lot of like internet chefs, things can be good, things can be bad. You kind of got to figure it out, or like things are just ostentatious. But these things are like pretty realistic and delicious at the same time. So I was pretty happy with that. Traveling was basically a fail for probably years, to be honest. I think it's interesting. When we lived in California, we traveled a little bit. Like, we would travel to Costa Rica, Hawaii, Vegas, but we didn't really feel the need to travel because there's so much fun stuff to do there. Like, it kind of felt like living on a vacation. Now that I'm here in Chicago, where it doesn't necessarily feel like living in a vacation, I do feel the lack of travel. And we have only really traveled for family stuff, which is good, but doesn't really count as like recreational travel. It's like a separate category of thing. But we're intentioning to improve that in the next year too. All right, and then lastly, YouTube. YouTube was kind of a win and a fail. So like, I have a separate YouTube channel that I use for my work. And I've been super consistent over there, and it's been very helpful for business outcomes. Like, we have customers who come in through there, and it allows us to help our clients. It allows us to attract new clients. That's all great and fun. But that's not really like that. Because I've been doing so much of that, I haven't really focused anything here on this channel, which is just like for me, right? It's supposed to be just my stuff. And so, here's my little segue, I guess, into one of the things I hope to do in 2025 is to post more regularly here. And I know the timing's not awesome because I feel like everybody says they're going to do everything on January 1st, and by January 10, they've given up. But my outcome here is going to be to try to post once a week. And just based on the stuff that my life is loosely related to that I could think could be either entertaining or helpful, or both. Maybe I'm just barely entertaining enough and barely helpful enough that you'll watch this and find it helpful. So I think I'm going to try to be more intentional with YouTube, and I'm going to try to do like a video a week for a year and kind of see what happens. Just because I've seen what happens when you just do a little bit of stuff consistently for a year. Have things in like buckets of either businessy or fitnessy or hobby-y. We'll find out, and we'll see how it goes and how it is. And this is where I'm going to ask you for a little bit of help if you're somebody watching this. What stuff do you want to see me posting about on here? Like, I know what I like about me, but what do you like about me? Why are you here watching? Are you my mother or mother-in-law and just super supportive? In which case, thank you. Are you like, no, AJ, I actually love the drawing stuff, or I love bartending shit, or I really like the fitness stuff? Like, just let me know, because it's going to help guide. But this will be pretty iterative. I'll just throw things out, test them out, and see how things go. It's kind of gonna leave it as like a playground, right? Like, I've done everything from like business content on here to reaction content to food content, like literally. And all those things are part of who I am. So I'm just going to post that stuff and see if anybody else is down with it. And we'll see. But yeah, that was my end of the year review for 2024. That wasn't so bad, right? We did it. What did you accomplish in 2024 that you're proud of? And you can do the meme joke of, I ate french fries, I ate french fries, I ate french fries. Or you could tell me what you actually did. I'm sure there's one thing you did that at least you're proud of, even if all you did was rest for this year. I think that's something to be very proud of. Thank you so much if you made it to this far in the video. It means a lot. More to come. Subscribe if you want to see that more to come. And I will see you in the next one. I should probably say bye, huh? Not just wave. Like, I'm like, bye. What if somebody's listening? They wouldn't have known that I wait. That's something I'm going to add it to the goals.